Welcome to the DAZN Boxing Show and the DBS boys back together, which is good. It's always good for us to be back together. It's a big show. Don't get you know it's a big show.
We're starting already. First of all, I saw you trying to look taller. I just saw that. But go ahead.
1 second. But it's good to be with you guys again, right? And it's good to see Ryan Garcia back in action as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan, the fact that his last loss was such a big, high-profile fight against one of the best fighters in the world in Tank Davis, there's a lot of pressure. I know people don't think, oh, this is Ryan. Duarte is a dangerous opponent, so there's pressure in him because many people don't know Duarte, right? We know how dangerous he is as fight guys, right?
Yeah.
So he has pressure to the casual audience to knock this guy out because they don't know who he is. But he has to actually do that in the sport to stay where he is. There can't be a subpar performance of Ryan Garcia against Duarte. There's a lot of pressure on this young man.
I think casual fans, with casual fans, you can't have a subpar performance.
Even in boxing, I mean, oh, you okay with a subpar performance by Ryan Garcia?
When you say subpar, you just mean no knockout. That's what it sounded like he was trying to say.
I mean,
you don't want no fighter that says that they're good or we feel like it's good to have a subpar performance anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're just talking about no knockout, no, I can see your decision as long as it's a good fight. And I see changes between him and Derrick James. But I think the pressure is always there because you're a star. The star should always have pressure, and that's just, it is what it is.
Is there more of giving him a bit of a leeway to have a subpar performance because he's coming off a defeat, because he has now got a new trainer? So no, isn't there a bit more, okay, you don't have to look super special?
Absolutely not.
No, never.
Because you're Ryan Garcia.
Never.
Think about it, right? Look, Ryan obviously had a tough loss against Tank, but he still was Ryan Garcia. He's still one of the biggest names in the sport. And let's not act like Ryan wasn't knocking everybody out and he had some decent opponents on his list. We expect a lot from him, right? And though Duarte is a tough fighter, what are we thinking? We thinking Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. We thinking Ryan Garcia, Teofimo, Lopez. We thinking Ryan Garcia and those guys. So I don't want to see nothing less.
You're right.
No, I'm not okay with that.
No, what I'm trying to say though, but we see all the fighters, all the top fighters. I mean, we saw Shakur Stevenson a couple of weeks ago have a subpar performance. Teofimo Lopez, for me, is the best 140-pound out there. Before that, though, against Sandar Martin, subpar.
But you didn't expect that, and you weren't okay with it.
No, I wasn't okay with it, but I think, shouldn't there be allowance for it?
There's always an allowance. There's always an allowance, and I think that knockouts, cover a multitude of sins. You forget. You forget. So that's what we need now, because even though he just lost against one of the best fighters in the world, that kind of gets chalked up in a subpar performance. You lost. You lost. It wasn't even a back and forth and you lost. You lost. So you can't have two of those in a row.
Yeah, but the fact that he was at 135 and there were people were saying that weight was hard for Ryan to make. We saw Ryan, he's a big guy, right? Yeah. So I think that's also adding something to the mix. Like, all right, now you're at 140, right? You're comfortable now, right? So you're stronger now. You can punch harder. So that's also going to be talked about. That's why there's no room for subpar, because you have the new trainer, you're at the weight class that you're most comfortable in, and you're one of the biggest stars in the sport.
Agreed. There's a lot of pressure on him. Let's talk about training camps and trainers. Obviously, he's got Derrick James now. And what we see with boxing nowadays, guys, I think you're seeing almost like super camps, and then you're seeing these fighters that have just kind of that one-on-one relationship with a trainer, like almost like GGG, Abel Sanchez, right? You're just you two. He's now gone to a super camp, a camp that has so many superstars. Good or bad?
That's a great question, Ade, and a lot of people have been talking about that. Does he have too many big names in his camp? Can he divide the time properly for each star? Because when you talk about, this guy doesn't have a few world champions, he has a few world stars.
Yeah, superstars.
In Spence, in Ryan Garcia, in Anthony Joshua, who's a star in a whole nother country.
Charlo, Frank Martin. There's loads in that camp.
There's too many. But Derrick always says, listen, these guys don't train at the same time in the gym. They train different times, but the traveling and going here and forth, it plays a part. I guess we'll get all those questions answered. And I said earlier there's a lot of pressure on Ryan, but I think he's going to live up to the hype and score a big knockout victory.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that is it's always depends on the trainer, because Freddie Roach was that guy at one time. Yeah. He had the stars. Everybody wanted to go to Freddie Roach.
Not really. He had one big star.
No, but everyone wanted to go there.
Everybody wanted to go to him. Kid Chocolate, everybody wanted to go to him. So he was that guy. And it's just about, Freddie Roach just happened to be somebody who has no life but boxing. So it really depends.
Not as Derrick, I don't think.
Well, let me get to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Let him land.
He caught on. He caught on to what I was going to say. And we don't really know, but it just appears that Derrick is so boxing centered that he's going to divide up his time properly. But it really just depends on how he divides his time.
Yeah, we focus so much on Ryan Garcia, rightly so, as you guys say, is the superstar. Oscar Duarte comes in to this fight with 11 straight knockouts. He's coming just to win the lottery, right? You beat Ryan Garcia, then your next fight, whether it be the rematch or anyone else at 140, you're making that money.
And I watched him fight, and I don't want to make this comparison, like don't be so literal with it, but I see Canelo vibes with Duarte, right? Because of the way he stalks. You know, Canelo's that great left hook to the body. I've seen Duarte land great left hooks to the body and come up top. He's a stalker. Fast hands, not as fast as Ryan, but he can punch. You just mentioned it, 11 straight knockouts. He's going to get some shots in there, right? Ryan's going to have to deal with some adversity, no question about it. A lot to gain, obviously. He has the world to gain, but he has a very vicious young fighter who obviously has a chip on his shoulder right now in front of him.
I'll say 2 chips.
Two chips. I like that. I like that comparison. I would say more like Triple G only because, you know, Canelo's so crafty with his stalk, especially nowadays. But the old Canelo, perfect. But I think more like Triple G. He doesn't have the one-punch knockout power, but he breaks his opponents down. But he's at 135. He's that guy. Ryan was a big 135. Ryan is a big 140.
Yes.
Ryan's a
Is he going to be? Is Duarte going to be?
Easy.
You know, is Duarte going to be able to get in on a guy who hits as hard and as fast as Ryan with that style coming forward? You know?
Is there a way in which Ryan Garcia, and all fighters do it, can maybe overlook the guy in front of him when you do have him going back and forth with Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez offer, whether that be true or not? There's guys out there. Can you overlook an Oscar Duarte a little bit?
First of all, with a trainer like Derek James, no, right? This guy's a serious boxing mind, right? So he's not going to allow Ryan in the gym to overlook this guy. They're training for this guy. So when you have that type of circle around you, Ade, they don't allow you to overlook anybody. Now, mentally, is he looking past him? I don't think so. I think he is looking forward at the big fights at 140 and even 147, right, which he told us. But I think that his nucleus is never going to allow him to overlook a guy like that. Look, did you ever see him fight? The guy can fight. There's no way that Ryan is overlooking this guy.
You know why he's not overlooking him? Because you don't overlook your next guy when you come off a loss.
Right.
That's just not happening. Right. Your job is now to redeem yourself. And especially when you're battling against your promoter like Bernard Hopkins and Oscar De La Hoya, you got to prove to them. So you're focused, laser focused, saying, I'm going to make this guy look bad.
So the
to show these guys
toxicity
who
is
I
not
am.
messing his focus up.
Not the focus. I don't know about the fight.
All of a sudden, the 140-pound division, I think, is the deepest division in boxing. Devin Haney
Just
now
like that.
jumped up to it just like that, right? Ryan Garcia as well. Who's the king of the 140-pound division?
The lineal champion.
Who is the
lineal champion?
Lopez,
Teofimo Lopez. Let's not do that, you know, because it's like Devin Haney didn't get the props when he was at 135 and he had all the belts. We talking about Tank and everybody. The lineal champion is Teofimo Lopez. Probably should have had all the straps. Who cares about the politics? He's the guy.
Not
But
Regis.
You're right.
Not Regis, the WBC champion.
Nope. I mean, he's
you
just
talk about a guy that beat
IBF
Josh
champion,
Taylor,
Matthias
that
looks
beat
good.
Regis Pro, great fight ahead of him against Devin
He's
Haney.
one of the
Great
top
fighter.
guys.
But he's the guy that beat him, right? And Teofimo made, I don't want to say easy work, but he really
he did.
He made easy work of Josh Taylor,
of
right?
a guy who was on the pound-for-pound list at one
It's funny
time.
you say that. People will say, one second, there's a guy in England who made easy work of Josh Taylor as well. That's a guy called Jack Cattrall.
No, not
that
like
wasn't
Teofimo.
easy work.
Not like Teofimo.
That wasn't.
Lopez.
I think he won. That wasn't easy
He
work.
might have won the fight.
It was a
Teofimo destroyed Josh Taylor.
He should be undisputed. Final one, very, very quickly. If Ryan Garcia does get past Oscar Duarte, and everyone thinks he does, who do you want to see him in next with?
Obviously, it has to be either Teofimo Lopez. Devin Haney's at 140, right? We'll see what he does against Regis Prograis. Maybe Regis wins that fight. And maybe we see Ryan against Regis.
So many
You
fights.
said it. Deep division.
Scary.
I don't give a damn who he fights at 140. One of those big names, though.
Let me throw a wild card
Go
in
on,
there.
go.
What about Gervonta Davis at 140? Why not?
Ooh, the rematch
Why
at
not?
140. Because weight was an issue at 135.
Why not?
Maybe after one or two big wins.
It still will be the biggest fight though.
One
those
thing
two,
we
because
do
those
know,
guys are huge.
Ryan Garcia has options. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have options,
Gotta win.
Forget about it.
pick of the litter.
But you got to win. Yeah, right. The pick of the litter. Look, we'll see you guys on Saturday. Big one, Ryan Garcia versus Oscar Duarte. Check it out.
These are the moments that define you. In this game, you don't stay down.
He's got the whole package.
You don't forget why. You don't settle. And you don't look back. And don't blink.
Garcia versus Duarte, this Saturday from 8, live on DAZN.